Good afternoon and welcome. Kent Bain with Elevate Chat, Elevate Your Business Chat with Nine Business Group and Chris Felgate. Chris, welcome. Please introduce yourself and your company and what makes you guys awesome and unique.
Hi, Kent. Thanks for the time today. Appreciate the interview. My name's Chris and I'm with Small Town Buds. We're an independent retail store here in Alberta. We were actually the very first retail store in Alberta to get their license. So we've been around since day one of legalization and have been fighting the good fight ever since then. I want to say what sets us kind of apart. I want to make sure I throw a shout out to all my other great independent retailers out here in Alberta. There's some great stores. So yes, maybe we're a bit unique in our own way, but definitely check out some other independents because there's a lot of cool people out there, great stores. For us, we try to make sure that we're a warm, welcoming environment. Part of coming up even with the name Small Town Buds is we wanted to think about, what did the cannabis consumer like about purchasing? Everybody had a guy or a buddy that they would get from, and they would go there and they'd shoot the shit. They became friends. You'd always hear from your friend, "Oh, my guy, he has the best stuff. He's the best. No, my guy's the best." So we wanted to do the best we could at trying to give people that same type of warm, welcoming feel. When you come into our store, not only do we try to make sure that ourselves as well as our staff is highly educated so that we can help you with whatever questions that legally we're allowed to. But we want to make sure that that you're our friend and not feels like our friend. We want to be friends with you. We want to come in. We want to know how your kid's soccer tournament went. We want to know how that new job was going. And most importantly, we want to make sure when you leave our store, you're leaving it with the product that's the best for you and that you're going to go home and be the most happy with and want yourself to come back into our store. We don't like to look at sales tactics or marketing schemes because we don't like to scheme people into our store. We want people to come to us because they enjoy our presence, they enjoy our flower and our other products, and just enjoy the environment in general.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Chris. I'm not sure about this question because you and I talked a little before the call started, so I'm just going to ask it and see where it goes. What is the biggest challenge you have overcome since starting a business? How did you tackle it? How did you solve it? And what was the outcome?
So since starting my cannabis business, it's it's been a roller coaster. Like I said, since we've been here since prior to legalization, we've dealt with a lot. I did my build out on my own. I dealt with financing on my own. When I applied for my cannabis license, I had all of my bank accounts frozen because they needed to investigate me to see if I was money laundering. When we first started and legalization happened, we were dealing with countrywide shortages. I was lucky to keep my doors open for 1 to 2 days before I ran out of product. There just wasn't enough available to keep the demand up. We actually didn't have our first week of 7 days open until March. Remember, legalization's in October. So it was it was difficult, and it's difficult because not only obviously did we lose out on a ton of potential revenue, but keeping staff. A lot of days we had to pay staff for doors being shut because they can't afford to be somewhere where they get 2 days a week. So we had to pay staff even though they weren't there. We had to deal with a whole bunch of other issues. Now we've got into a different scenario where there's abundance. There's abundance of stores. There's 800 stores here in Alberta, but only 3 million people. There's over 500 licensed producers all pushing out flower, trying to get into the market. So while producers are fighting with each other, all racing for their products to be, we call it the race to the bottom, where theirs is a little bit cheaper, it's a little bit cheaper. The same thing is happening in retail stores, especially when we are dealing with some of the big corporations like Value Buds, Canna Cabana, who, just like big corporations do, have no problem taking a loss to kind of stranglehold the little guys. So after dealing with all the startups, having to go through the roller coaster of how many days are we going to stay open this week, we finally get out of that to oversaturation of an industry where nobody seems to be interested in making any money but just selling product. So yeah, it's tough to say what our individual biggest hurdle was. It seems like every month there's a new one to jump over. And you know, we're still in the middle of this race, and there's a lot of hurdles to come in front of us, that's for sure.
So it's almost not to put words in your mouth, but sounds like a one of perseverance and having a plan, but really sticking to the plan regardless of the hurdles, and whatever the hurdles are, dealing with them one at a time and just moving on. I have an uncle, and he had a saying he shared with me once. I love it, which is sometimes in life you just got to cross the street one street at a time. Is that a good analogy for kind of what you've gone through in the last couple of years in your cannabis store?
Exactly it. It's one foot in front of the other. It's day by day. It's trying to figure out what issues are issues that I can deal with today, what issues can I fix today, and what issues am I going to be looking at to fix down the road, and trying to figure out where to spend your time. And sometimes that might be the biggest hurdle itself.
Another question, I can only imagine where it goes. What is one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you started your business?
One thing I wish I would have been able to tell 21-year-old Chris would be learn about raising capital. You know, raising capital is something that isn't necessarily that hard to do if you have a good business plan, you got a good business model, and you can find the right partners to work with you. Sometimes, even though you might not get as big of a slice of the pie or the whole pie, you're also not gambling all of your money away, because life of an entrepreneur can be tough. And then on top of that, it would be probably the importance of a good network. Everybody wants to, you know, succeed on their own and say, hey, look what I did, look what I built. But what I've learned in my, I guess, 12 years of working for myself now is nobody gets ahead by themselves. And we need good people in our corners. We need good people to bounce ideas from, and we need sometimes even just need a helping hand up. So make sure you have a good network in your corner, constantly work at growing that network. And if you got a hand up at one point, don't be afraid to put your hand down and pull somebody else back up, because one day that person might be in a position where they're going to do the same thing back to you. Keeping good people close to you, I think, is the number one thing in business.
That's great. I have to, I think it was Clark Gruey, a person we interviewed about a month ago. I'll have to check it out, but he said something similar, which is entrepreneur is a group sport. You know, you can do it alone, but it's less fun and you probably shouldn't. So that it definitely drives that sentiment home. As you look forward in your industry, and I know you're involved on the industry level in Alberta, what are the top 3 challenges that your industry faces the next 18 to 24 months?
Closures, keeping our lights on, feeding our families. Estimated 40% of industry, and I don't mean just retail, I mean cannabis industry, won't be here in 12 to 18 months. Right now, everybody's focus is just keeping their lights on, getting to tomorrow, getting to the next day. It seems like the second we even get a little bit ahead, things like what happened on Ontario or BC, crush our industry. And if people don't know, on Ontario, there's a hacker who hacked into the OCS's back end and made it so that nobody got their deliveries for an entire week. In BC, the regulating body, sorry, not even the regulating body, their wholesaler, the BC wholesaler for cannabis, all their employees went on strike with no end in sight right now. So BC retailers are shutting down their doors because, just like we did in the first year there, there's no product in people's stores, and it was already tight. I already said how we're trying to keep our lights on. There's a lot of people who won't be reopening after this because they couldn't afford to lose revenue for that long of time. So yeah, there needs to be some major regulatory changes that happen, not only at a federal level when it comes to the C45 and the cannabis review, but on each individual provincial level as well. Government needs to stop being so greedy when it comes to our industry. It's fine, we get it, the government gets paid first. The Canadian cartel will always get their money. However, can you please at least leave some food on the table for us? Because if not, we won't be here to keep taking money from. And if you want to keep taking our money, we need to exist.
Well said. Well said. What is your definition of a successful business? And is it different for, so What is your definition of successful business, and what does it mean for your business to be successful? Are they the same?
So I don't think they're the same. For my business to be successful, the number one thing, and it's easy to say, is profit, right? Like, I didn't go into business to lose money. Nobody does. A profitable business, or a successful business, first and foremost, should be profitable. After that, I think it needs to look, for us at least, it needs to look at culture and how that business feels. When I mean feels is when we walk into the environment, how does it feel to be around our staff? How does it feel to be around our customer? How does it feel to be around other people in the industry when representing your brand? You want to make sure that you're representing your business in a way that you can be proud of. And I think that if you're a profitable business who can sit there with your head held high, knowing that you put out, a great product, a great service, and you got friends in customers, friends in employees, and friends in industry, that you're successful. When it comes to personal success, profitability is always great. Everybody wants to make sure their pockets are full. I think that all the money in the world doesn't necessarily always buy you happiness, doesn't buy you time with your friends and your family. I want to make sure that no matter how much time I'm putting into my work, I'm valuing the little bit of time that I get with my kids, with my wife, with my close friends. I think that's equally as successful as anything that I've done or accomplished in my business. Because at the end of the day, the reason I work is for my family. It's to spend time with my friends and enjoy a better life. That's why I'm out here. On a side note, when it comes to business success, I guess I'll go back to creating a network. You could have owned a arcade in the 80s and been killing it, and by 1992 you're shutting down your business. Did you have a successful business? Were you successful? 100% you were. If you didn't create a good network in that meantime, what are you doing when that business shuts down? What are you doing next? If you did create something good, maybe you're working for the people that were wholesaling you the games. Maybe you're doing something else with inside that industry, and you're continue to grow and build a name for yourself. So yeah, a bit of a complicated answer, I guess, but that's my answer.
No, it's a great answer. It's funny because as a business coach for 15 years, we built marketing plans. I'm with Action Coach. We got thousands of coaches all over the world. And we look at them, we kind of go, well, it's easy to say that all business owners want time, team, or money. But what does that really mean? And so part of this quest and asking entrepreneurs, interviewing them, is what does it mean to be successful? So there's the typical build it, sell it, become a millionaire, retire on a beach sort of antiquated definition of business success. But what I'm finding in this question is a much more holistic answer. And I think there's layers. I think you hit it on the head. Is one, we need profitability. We got to take care of our families. So there's sort of the almost a Maslow hierarchy of needs to business ownership. And one is pay my bills, have some profit, have some balance. But then you think you touched on something else too. What is that long-term success, which becomes what is my business worth, and what is it going to look like 5 years from now, from 10 years from now? And there's some sustainability to the business, or what has it done for my family and into the future? So I think that's great. One last question for you. Ready?
Yeah, 100%.
What do you want to be known for?
Oh, guess it all depends on who you ask. I probably want my mom to know me for something different than than I want maybe one of my employees to know me for. If we're talking straight business, I still, no matter who you talk to, I want to be known for being a genuine person, right? I don't think that maybe I'm not everybody's cup of tea all the time. You're not going to 100% click with everybody you can. One thing I always try to be as genuine as possible. I want people to know that the person they're dealing with, I don't play games. I'm not up to tricks. You're going to get the real Chris every single time. On a side note, I come from an industry of giants that I am, lucky enough today to be walking on their shoulders. I wouldn't be here in cannabis if it wasn't for them. There's so many names I don't even know where to start mentioning when it comes to the fight to get us to legalization, what people have sacrificed to get us here, and the risks that they put themselves in. I think if one day I could be remotely known for doing as much for legalization and fixing our industry as some of these giants are known for getting us here. I'll be able to, rest easy at the end of my life knowing that, I left our industry and therefore, in my opinion, the world in a better place.
That's actually well said. And kudos for that. I think that's an important part of, again, there's two standard questions I ask all the people I interview, and people say, I want to leave an impact or have an impact, but I think yours is very well articulated. And to rephrase it simply, not only do you want your business to be successful and profitable in the industry, but you want to play a role in stabilizing it and making sure the industry is there and profitable for years and generations to come.
And to put one note further than that, it's not just about making sure it's sustainable and profitable, which is obviously the main thing because we all have families to feed. But I want to do whatever we can to keep the culture around the plant and our industry prior to legalization alive, because there are some grassroots people. Cannabis brings people together. It's a special club that we're all in and anybody's welcome to. My fear is one day, the corporate side of that will crush it and it will become, alcohol and cigarettes. I hope that we can keep our culture alive.
Excellent. So just one last parting comment, Chris, for those out and about, if they're looking for you, where can they find you? Another shameless plug for Small Town Buds. Where do you exist and how can they find you?
We are in Devon, Alberta, so we're about 15 minutes southwest of Edmonton. So that's 15 minutes whether you leave on the west end or south side. We're 10 minutes west of the Edmonton International Airport. So if you're coming in and you're swinging by the west end, hotel or hockey tournaments or whatever you're in for, come stop by, say hi. If I'm not there, my beautiful wife Nicole and business partner should be. If not, a ton of friendly staff. So always happy to see new faces, see new people, and bring people into my community because Devon's a beautiful place.
Excellent. Thanks again for spending a few minutes with us today. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Thanks, Ken. Take care.
You're welcome.